Well, good morning. Welcome to this early morning prayer time. I hope you're all wide awake. I'd like to share some thoughts about persevering in prayer, and I'll begin by reading some scriptures. The first is from Ephesians chapter 6. With all prayer and petition, pray at all times in the Spirit, and with this in mind, be on the alert with all perseverance and petition for all the saints. And then Paul says in 1 Thessalonians, rejoice always, pray without ceasing. In everything give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And in Luke chapter 18, Jesus tells a parable, and it's told with a view to encouraging us never to give up on prayer. Now Jesus was telling them a parable to show that at all times they ought to pray and not lose heart, saying, in a certain city there was a judge who did not fear God and did not respect man. There was a widow in that city, and she kept coming to him, saying, give me legal protection from my opponent. For a while he was unwilling, but afterwards he said to himself, even though I do not fear God nor respect man, yet because of this widow who keeps bothering me, I shall give her legal protection. Otherwise, by continually coming, she'll wear me out. And the Lord said, hear what the unrighteous judge said. Now, will not God bring about justice for his elect, who cry to him day and night? And will he delay long over them? I tell you that he will bring about justice for them quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? And that last question, I don't think Jesus intended us to answer it. I think he simply asked the question to provoke us to continue to pray until he comes back again. It can be discouraging praying for a long time. We can lose heart. But we should persist, because I don't believe God is offended when we repeatedly go to him with the same requests. Psalm 55:17 says, evening and morning and at noon I will complain and murmur, and he will hear my voice. Now, I'm sure those of us who are parents will quickly lose patience with our children if they complain and murmur to us every evening and morning and at noon. But God says, according to this psalm, that he will go on listening to us. And I believe the solution to not losing heart is contained in the book of Hebrews in chapter 12, verse 3. It says, for consider him who has endured such hostility by sinners against himself, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. And I think if we are losing heart, then the remedy is to consider Jesus. Today's devotion from the Choose Life book by Simon Gilbo mentions that he has a friend who read the Bible weekly to a Sikh friend for 22 years before the Sikh came to faith. We shouldn't presume that just because we haven't had a yes answer to prayer, that will always be the answer. We may not just need to persevere in prayer a bit more. We can think of situations where God has answered prayer after a very long time. And actually the Bible talks about an example where God answered a prayer hundreds of years after the person who prayed it made the prayer. Numbers 11:29, Moses prayed, would that all the Lord's people were prophets and the Lord would put his spirit on them. And the answer to that prayer came 1500 years later on the day of Pentecost. So we shouldn't give up. And what I want to encourage us to do today as we go throughout the day is to bring back to God again those things we may have been praying for weeks or months or years, and persist in prayer.